want the CRITES.
The CRITES.
Look, mister, I don't know what you're talking about.
We're here for the CRITES.
The CRITES.
Kill CRITES. Kill more CRITES. Kill CRITES.
Welcome, once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and today, we've got something I'm really proud of. So, there's a lot of white Magecraft decks running around, and there's also these pests. I don't know if you've seen them, these Witherbloom pest decks with Bastion of Remembrance just everywhere on the ladder. But I got the idea of, how about we just smash them together? But the mana isn't good enough, right? Except it is. Before we jump into it, give this video a like. Make sure you subscribe so we can grow the channel. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. Once we do, you'll get a video every day of the week. So let's make that happen. And now, let's stop rambling. Let's jump into the deck. Alright, this deck's really cool. So we wanted to be able to take the concept of some of the white Magecraft decks that were running around and kind of meld it with some of the Witherbloom sacrifice stuff we've seen. And I think a lot of people aren't able to make it work because they're thinking too much about making white a base color. But when we just have it as a splash here, we can make it work. And I think that's the key. So first off, we've got 4 Bastion of Remembrance. Now this is like the pillar of the deck, right? It means everything that dies is going to generate life drain for us. And then we've got 1 copy of Vito and 1 copy of Dina. Now, Vito and Dina are both similar. Vito's gonna drain life from them, or rather do damage to them whenever we gain life. And same thing with Dina. The difference is Dina will only deal 1 point of damage, or rather make them lose 1 point of life every time we gain life. Dina doesn't care about how much life we gain, right? Whereas Vito will do as much damage as the life that we gain. So Vito is strictly better. But in a deck like this, it's not, the difference is very negligible, right? Because everything in the deck is triggering 1 life gain at a time, for the most part. So in most instances, Dina is simply the same exact ability as Vito. So that's really cool. Vito does have the built-in ability to give everything lifelink for 5 mana. Dina has the built-in ability to pay 1 and sack a creature to give herself plus X plus O, where X is equal to that creature's power. So they do have a little bit of versatility there and different ways that you can use them. But what's important is they're both legendaries, but we can get a copy of each onto the field at the same time. And how do we do that if we only have 1 copy of each? We're running Fiend Artisan. I haven't seen anyone use this since Strixhaven came out, but I think it's a perfect fit. Like, what better use for all the pests you're going wide with than just sacking a measly pest that you're going to gain a life off of anyway, and then going and fetching whatever you need. You can fetch your one of Dina. You can fetch your 1 off of Vito. We can also fetch our Sedgemoor Witches or our Clarion Spirits. And that's the other pillar of the deck, right? We wanted 6 things in the deck that were sort of creature engines that were going to perpetually create tokens for us as we play multiple spells each turn. Now, Sedgemoor Witch does this with Magecraft, which means we can trigger it multiple times a turn, but it has to be with instants and sorceries. So there's a little bit more of a stipulation there, but we can get more activations off if we save up our instants and sorceries. Whereas with Clarion Spirit's a lot easier to trigger. Whenever we cast our 2nd spell each turn, we'll get the 1/1 flyer token, but it only triggers that 1 time. But we can cast anything. So a lot of times earlier in the game, we're playing our creatures and using our creatures to trigger Clarion Spirit and going as wide as we can with that. And then later in the game, we're saving up our spells to use with Magecraft with Sedgemoor Witch. Really cool. And the fact that between the two we have 6 copies means the chances of seeing one of these creature engines by turn 4 is substantially high. That number 6 is pretty important. So we have 6 creature engines, and then Fiend Artisan, we have 3 copies that can search them out if we need them. It can also search out, like I said, our silver bullet copies of Dina and Vito. We've got 3 Lovestruck Beasts, because what's better than having a Magecraft trigger for 1 mana? How about having a Magecraft trigger for 1 mana and another body you can play later? And how about that Magecraft trigger for 1 mana also makes you a body? Like, this card just does everything we want it to do in a deck like this, so it's an auto include. Honestly, if I had more room for the 4th copy, I'd put it in. But the cards here, man, the deck is super tight. Like, we don't have room for anything, right? So we've got, let's put these over here for now. At the bottom of the curve, we've got 4 Eyetwitch and 4 Jaspera Sentinels. Now, Eyetwitch is important because it's the first thing we want to hit the floor with that we want to sacrifice. We want to sacrifice, we want to be able to learn off the sacrifice. A lot of times our opponents are just like afraid to attack into it or to trade with it on a block because they don't want us to learn, which is kind of interesting. We can get a couple free points of damage in with this pretty easily. And the Jaspera Sentinel can come down, and what's important about the Jaspera Sentinel, not only can it generate us mana over the course of the game, but it's another body that we can sacrifice to any of our sacrifice effects. It's another body for a couple of the other cards that we'll get to later. And it also is going to fix our mana, which is an important part of being able to play the first of our 2 drops, which is the Clarion Spirit, right? Clarion Spirit's the only white card in the deck because we're highly focused on going wide, right? We could play Lumimancers, right? We could play Light Scribes. There's a lot of cool Magecraft white creatures that we could use, but this deck specifically is hyper focused on filling up the board and then just gaining a ton of value off everything on the board dying. So Clarion Spirit is the perfect addition, and honestly, running 3 colors is really, really hard with the lands we have available to us right now. The Snarls aren't super great. Triomes come into play tapped. Like, we don't have a consistent way of getting 3 colors of mana and not having too many lands come into play tapped. So it's pretty hard. But in this deck, we get around it a little bit with that Jaspera Sentinel, and that really helps. So we're also running 2 Hunt for Specimens. It's 2-drop, generates a pest, generates Magecraft triggers, also allows us to learn and fetch a lesson. But what's also important is we want 6 cards that can find lessons for us, that can allow us to learn. Because like I said before, that magic number is 6, because the chances of hitting one in your first 4 turns are pretty high if you have 6. So we've got the 4 Eyetwitches, so the 2 Hunt for Specimens just rounds that out, right? Same thing with the Plumb the Forbiddens and the Village Rites. The Plumb the Forbidden is the absolute MVP of the deck, right? This card is absolutely insane, but we want 6 ways to sacrifice creatures in order to draw cards so that we can just keep digging and keep going off. So we have 4 Plums and 2 Village Rites. Village Rites, sack a creature, draw a card, 1 mana instant, really good for triggering Magecraft. But what's great about Plum, there's so much edge value in Plum that's easily overlooked, right? So the obvious thing is we can sack creatures and draw cards, right? But it's better than that. It's not just draw X cards and lose X life, right? It's basically everything we sacrifice gives us another copy of the spell. And that is substantially better in a lot of small ways that are kind of overlooked. So the first way is we don't actually need a creature in order to cast this. If we're in a tough spot and we're desperate, we can play this spell and just draw a card and not have to sacrifice anything. And in that way, it's kind of a little bit better than Village Rites, because you can't do that with Village Rites. But the other ways in which it has edge value are really interesting. So it generates a bunch of copies, which means it's triggering Magecraft a bunch of times. And that one's kind of obvious too. People have caught on to that. But being able to like basically get 5 spells in a turn because you sacrificed 4 creatures and trigger Magecraft like 5-6 times for Sedgemoor Witch is pretty insane. But the other way that Plumb the Forbidden is really good that's often overlooked is the fact that each of those copies is its own spell, and it triggers when you cast it, not when you resolve it. So if you're playing against a blue deck and they're going to try and counter your big card draw spell that's going to put you over the top and like catch you up and gain you a ton of value, they can't do that, right? You generate like 5 copies of this. The best they can do is counter one of them with each spell, right? You still draw the rest of the cards, and honestly, if one of these copies also gets rid of a counterspell from their hand instead of drawing you a card and making you lose a life, that's even better. So against blue decks, Plumb the Forbidden is just insane. This card just does everything. It's instant speed. You can do it on the opponent's turn. You can do it in response to people trying to target your creatures with removal so that you can sack that thing. They can't really respond to you sacrificing creatures, right? Because it's an additional cost. So if you want to sacrifice those creatures and you have this mana available, like, they can't stop you, right? They can't target your creatures with removal in response and prevent you from being able to sack it to the Plumb. Like, if you want to sack it to the Plumb, it's going to happen. And that's pretty amazing. We've also got, in the top end, a couple of really tasty silver bullets we can find. So as I mentioned before, we have 3 Fiend Artisans, so we can search up targets. And then in the late game, it can get pretty big too. It's also interesting tech against rogues. So if you can sneak this in against rogues and then they just mill you for a bunch, this thing gets huge and out of control. But the real reason it's here is, like I said before, use those pests, find those key creatures that you need on the field way earlier than you'd otherwise find them if you were just trying to dig for them. So at the top end, we have 1 copy of Rankle, which is amazing because if we've got pests to sacrifice, we can use Fiend Artisan, fetch the Rankle. It immediately comes in with haste, swings. We sacrifice a pest and make them sacrifice their big dude. Make them discard a card if we want, draw some cards. Like, just being able to do that at will when you have a Fiend Artisan in play is pretty amazing. And then the other thing at the top end we have that we can fetch with Fiend Artisan is Toski. Now, obviously we're going super wide with pests, and obviously the big payoff is, you know, sacking them all or just having them all die while Bastion of Remembrance is on the field, and maybe even with a Vito or a Dina. But another thing we can do to go over the top is just fetch a Toski. Toski comes into play. It's a 1/1 indestructible, can't be countered. Has to attack each combat, but every creature that deals combat damage to the opponent lets you draw another card. So when we're super wide with pests, we can fetch a Toski, just swing with the team, refill our whole hand, and then it's kind of too late to stop us at that point. So there's so many little tricks you can do with this deck, and I tried a lot of different ways to make Abzan work, and I think this is the best one. I think if you try to go too deep into white, it's too hard to make all 3 colors work. But having black and green as the base colors and then being able to use Jaspera Sentinel to give us a little bit of fixing is really, really cool and super effective. So in the mana base, we have 4 of the Indatha Triomes, 4 of each of the pathways that are relevant, 2 forests, a swamp, and then 5 modal lands. So we've got 3 Malakir Rebirths, another thing that can trigger Magecraft, another thing that can trigger the Clarion Spirit, but it can also save a key creature at the right time. So if they try to kill our Sedgemoor Witch or our Clarion Spirit or our Fiend Artisan or whatever we need to keep around, we just Malakir Rebirth, right? And we get to keep it. So that's a pretty good spell, and it's good that it triggers Magecraft for only 1 mana as well. And then Agadeem's Awakening, obvious in this deck, especially where we actually have a curve here. A lot of the Magecraft decks don't really have a super good curve. It's a lot of 1 and 2 drops. But with this deck, we actually have a relevant curve. We've got even 2 4-drops, bunch of 3 drops, 2 drops, and 1 drops. So we can make real effective use of Agadeem's Awakening theoretically, where if we do manage to get into the late game with all of our card draw, and we haven't won yet, Agadeem's Awakening can get back all the stuff we lost in the early game and really put us over the top. So this is the deck. It's been pretty crazy. The sideboard, we've got the lessons. We've got 2 Pest Summonings, which are 3 mana sorceries that can each make 2 1/1 pests. We've got a Mascot Exhibition just in case we get into the late game. A basic Conjuration if we just need to dig into one of our good creatures. Containment Breach to take out a very specific artifact or enchantment and sometimes even give us a pest while doing it, which is key. Necrotic Fumes if we just need to get rid of that goddamn creature. And then Environmental Sciences if we're stuck on land, which once in a while can happen because this is Abzan. It usually doesn't, but having it there as a fallback is pretty important. Also, it shouldn't be overlooked that it is the cheapest, the cheapest lesson that we have available. So sometimes if we just want to trigger Magecraft or just want to trigger the Clarion Spirit with the second spell, being able to grab something that only costs 2 if we've only got 2 more mana available can be really, really important. So, good card. Deck's pretty awesome. It did pretty well. I'm pretty stoked about it, to be honest. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. Let's jump into the games. Alright, this hand's a little weird, but we're going to try and make it work. We're not sure if we want the white yet. So we'll drop Darkbore Pathway as black first. Alright, Darkbore Pathway. Pass the turn. We can play Hunt for Specimens on turn 2. We're going to go green just to be safe. Grab a Pest Summoning, pass the turn. Now we'll probably end up playing Malakir Rebirth as a land here, and then Fiend Artisan. What's cool is if the Fiend Artisan survives, we'll be able to start looking for our tutorable targets. Swing with the Pest. Alright, get in for 1. And then we'll play the Fiend Artisan. We're up against Quandrix, so I don't expect them to have too much removal, which is good for us. It's very good for us. Brazen Borrower, that's fine. That's fine. That is fine. We'll get the Bastion out. And then we'll swing in for 1 again. Wow. Alright, just keep doing it. Well, you're only delaying the inevitable, my friend. So... interesting. Into the Royal. Is he just playing a bunch of bounce? He's got a Fey Wishes. I suppose that'll shut down my attack. So we'll play the Forest. We need to get Fiend Artisan online as soon as possible. So that's where I'm at right now. Play the Bastion. He's going to counter it. He's going to counter it. Sure. That's fine. No attacks. We are running him out of gas quick. That's what happens when you play bounce. He's got an awful lot of bounce in his deck. Or at least it seems that way. Alright, he's got a big blocker. That is fine. Three. How do I want to do this? I think we'll start by just getting a Bastion down. And then sacrificing the token. Grab an Eyetwitch. No tax. We can just loop sacking the Eyetwitches if we want, which is pretty cool. Sack 1 to fetch whatever we want. We learn. And then if we want, we can just find another Eyetwitch. So we can just basically keep learning for free. Rankle's not going to be good enough yet. I think what we want is to find the Witch. I think that's what we want. Find the Witch. If we find that, then what happens? No, we'll find the Witch. Go like that. We'll be able to learn as well. So we'll grab a... what do we need to get rid of? I think we'll grab a Necrotic Fumes. And then we'll grab our Sedgemoor Witch. And then we will pass the turn. So what we want to do is if he swings, we'll chump block. And then we'll sacrifice to Village Rites in response, and we'll make another pest. If he tries to use removal, we'll also just do the Village Rites in response. Resolve that. 5/5. Yeah. So we'll go like this. We want to save the pest tokens if we can, because the more of those that we have when like Vito or Dina hits the board, the better. So it's better to sack the 1/1 that we got from the Bastion. Is he gonna swing in? He's coming in with his flyers. We're draining so much it almost doesn't matter. Block the beast. We just have so much gas. We just need lands, really. We have more cards than we know what to do with. So... do we want to play Rankle? We might want to play Rankle. I think what we'll do is pay 2, sack the 1/1, find a Clarion Spirit, what's going on? Yeah, Clarion Spirit, and then play Vito. I think next turn we're just going to go off. We'll just take it all. We will just take it all. So we'll go... I think we're going to go Eyetwitch. Sack the Eyetwitch. Gonna learn again. We just have all the lessons in the world, apparently. So we'll grab, we'll just grab Environmental Sciences with Vito on. It's really powerful. Not sure if we'll use it this turn. We're gonna grab Dina. And now we can Village Rites. I think that's probably better. We can still slam Agadeem's Awakening as a land and Environmental Sciences if we want. Wait, cancel. Yeah, we need to Environmental Sciences first. So we can get the Spirit. Go black. Trigger, trigger, trigger. Yeah, and then we just win. Swamp. Village Rites. Sack. Is that enough? Alright. I guess he's not dead. I don't see how he expects to win this. Dude, the bounce he's had has been obnoxious. Swing in, get rid of the 1/1. Then he can't attack with the Lovestruck Beast. Or we'll just kill him. That works too. Alright. This looks good. We'll keep this. Keep 7. Plays the Scorpion. Slam the Triome. Turn 2 will go Jaspera Sentinel, Eyetwitch. Jaspera Sentinel, Eyetwitch. So next turn we can go Clarion Spirit and then another Eyetwitch. Generate a Spirit. That'll be pretty good. No blocks. I don't trust you. Alright, so we'll go white. Clarion Spirit. And another Eyetwitch. We'll swing with the Eyetwitch. Get in for 1 here. Every little bit counts. Especially when he has a Scorpion. End the turn. Now because we have Sentinel online, we can hold up Malakir Rebirth. If he tries to kill the Clarion Spirit. Yeah, we'll let him take it. We will let him take it. Or is it worth it to just save the Rebirth? He's just going to sacrifice it in response, right? It's probably better to just take 2 damage, to be honest. We'll do that. We'll do that. He didn't even kill the Eyetwitch. I love it. Mortality Spear. We'll do that. That's fine. I would have done it on the Clarion Spirit, but he can, again, he can just sacrifice it in response and then we waste the spell. So I don't think there's a better opportunity to use that anytime soon. So I feel decently good about using it there. We'll play the Bastion. Swing, swing, swing. Do it like that. Do it like that. So we know he's not going to attack him with the Woe Strider if we have the good trades. But there was a chance that he blocked the Eyetwitch with his Spirit. At least a better chance. Ooh. Destroys the Bastion. Interesting. And of course we're just whiffing incredibly hard. Yeah. If we swing with the Spirit, he just blocks it with the Spirit. I am okay with that. So we definitely have gained control of the board. But unfortunately, we're just flooding out like crazy. So we're going to really need to draw some gas soon. We'll do this. Does have enough to escape it. Next to combat. We're going to plumb for a bunch of cards here. 2 attackers. We'll get in for 2 first. And we'll go like this. Keep the Sentinel. Draw 3 cards, learn twice. So basically fill up our hand. It should be pretty nice. We'll grab Necrotic Fumes and Pest Summoning. I think we'll just play the Forest for now. And the Pest Summoning. Seems fine. End the turn. Can't believe we drew another land. Pretty crazy, if you ask me. Well, we'll sack here. Gotta do it at some point. And then he'll escape a Woe Strider. But we go back up to 11. He definitely looks better than us. Only because his cards are relevant. And we just keep drawing lands for some reason. There's only 23 in the deck. So it's kind of bizarre. I think we need to save Necrotic Fumes if we can. To deal with the Woe Strider. Yeah. Pass. He is coming in. We'll let you in. We will let you in, sir. Would you like to escape the Woe Strider? So we can kill it. There you go. There you go. Now hopefully we actually draw something relevant. A Clarion Spirit would be amazing. Nope. Hunt for Specimens. I'll take it though. I will take it. We'll play Hunt. We'll find... I think we're going to find Basic Conjuration, to be completely honest. It'll gain us 3 life. It'll let us find a creature. Seems good. Sedgemoor Witch. We'll get that down now. Pass turn. We can use Sentinel to use Rebirth if we need to, if he tries to kill the Sedgemoor Witch. And we've got enough life to last us until next turn. So getting 2 more tokens off both of these spells will be pretty key. Fortunately, he's scrying a lot, which means he's probably going to hit something that will trigger, at least trigger the Magecraft here. He's got no graveyard, so we don't have to worry about the other Woe Strider. Oh, he scooped. We got him. Yeah, we were just going to go over the top with the Witch. Yeah, this looks good. We'll lead with the Forest and the Sentinel. And then we can play Clarion Spirit, tap the Spirit to play the Eyetwitch. That seems good. Could also just tap it to do a Lovestruck Beast token. I kind of like the Eyetwitch better, though. It is possible that Lovestruck Beast is better if we need to be able to play the Lovestruck Beast next turn, and we don't have enough mana to do both. That could be woof. But I think we probably just end up playing Toski. Yeah, Toski should be good. Toski should be real good. Green. Tap Clarion Spirit. Swing with 2 flyers, draw 2 cards. That feels pretty good to me. That feels pretty good to me. We didn't get to trigger the Clarion Spirit, but it was worth it. We'll trigger the Clarion Spirit next turn. Alright, so we'll go green. We'll go Bastion. Could probably wait until after we attack to play a Plumb. Right? Swing, swing, swing. We'll draw some cards. Alright. Blocks the Toski. Draw some cards. Do we want to Plumb? I don't even think we need to Plumb yet. I don't even think we need to. We should probably hold up Plumb in case he tries to use removal. Nah, we're swinging so hard. He's not gonna be sweeping. I'm okay with this. Tap down the Clarion Spirit because we know we're not going to block with it. It's worth too much, right? We may block with the Eyetwitch. And he scoops. We just went too wide with a Toski. I guess that's what happens. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. We are pushing hard for that 1,000 subscriber mark, so please consider subscribing. Hit that button. There's a circle in the middle over there. Hit that. Subscribe. Tell all your friends to do it. Thank you. Also, give this video a like so more people can see it. If you'd like more PlayStation and console game coverage, we've got that down below. And if you'd like more Magic the Gathering coverage, there's more of that somewhere off over that way. Do all the things.